Today, while I was finding a story for our viewers, I found it a very interesting story. It is about the fate. When something will happen to someone, nobody knows what will happen, what will be their future. And in Italian, they called it Q sera sera, what will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. So the similar story I found today here, the name of this story is Zeyta Hasebe. It's the story is not like a long time ago. There was a king. He lived in a palace and he had many servants, but the king had no sons. His only child was a daughter. So he was a shoeless king without a little boy lived near the palace. His mother and father were dead. He liked the palace fine stone walls and its big courtyard. He came to play there every day. The king looked out of his window and saw the child. The little boy was big and strong. He could run fast and jump high. He was handsome too. The other children liked the boy. He was their leader and they all obeyed him. So he was a very happy child. Who is this child? The king thought. What is he doing here in my palace? Does he think he's a prince? Every day the king watched the boy. Slowly he became afraid. So this king started to ask his this child is too strong. The other children like him too much, he thought. So the king went to visit a wizard, a magician. He told him everything about this boy, about the quality of this boy. Who is this boy? The king asked the wizard, the magician. What will happen to him? The wizard did not speak. He was afraid of the king's anger. But the king assured him, Tell me, cried the king, or I will call my soldiers. My lord, the wizard said at last, this boy will be a great king one day. He will kill you and take your throne. Then this king became very angry. He went back to his palace. His eyes were dark with anger. He could not eat. He could not sleep. At last he sent for his servants. Catch the boy, he said to them. Put him in a box and throw the box into the sea. Then what happened that the servants were frightened of the king and they obeyed him. That night there was a terrible storm. The wind blew. The big waves ran across the sea. The waves carried the box far, far away and threw it on a beach. The next morning, an old man was walking along the beach. He saw the box and ran up to it. Inside, someone was crying. Quickly, the old man opened the box. He jumped back, very surprised. A child, he said, a little boy. He looked at the boy and at once he loved him. Where are your father and mother? He said. I don't know, answered the boy, and he began to cry. Then what happened that the man said, Old man, don't be afraid, said the old man. I will be your father now. He took the child home to his wife. She was very happy. Her wife, after all these years, she said, God has given a son. We will call him Zeyta Hasebe because we do not expect him. Then what happened? 12 years passed. For a long time there was peace in the land, and the king stayed in his palace. But then one day a war began. The king began to travel to the most distant parts of the country. One day he came to the house of the old man and his wife. The old man welcomed the king. Hurry, he said to Zeyta Hasebe, bring some water and wash our guests' feet. Zeyta Hasebe ran to find water. He washed the king's feet. The king smiled at Zeyta Hasebe. He liked him. Here is a fine, strong young man, he thought. He works hard for his father, and he shows respect for his father's guest. Your son is a good boy, he said to the old man. This boy is not my son, my lord, the old man said. He came to us from the sea. What? Said the king. What do you mean? The man said that because he came from the sea, one day, 12 years ago, the old man went on. I was walking on a beach. It was the morning after a great storm. I found a box. I opened it, and inside it was a little boy. So I found this boy from that box. Then he told the story. I took him home with me. My wife was very happy because God has not given us any children. This boy became our son. We called him Zeyta Hasebe. The king frowned. He looked at Zeyta Hasebe angrily. He did not like him now. He is my enemy, he thought. He will kill me and take my throne. The king thought quickly. He tried to smile again. The king knew that who is this boy? So listen, he said to the old man. I like your son. He is a fine boy. I must go back soon to my palace. Send him to me, and I will look after him. He will be a rich man, a powerful man. A great future is waiting for him. Then what happened that he called to one of his servants. Give me some paper and pen, he said. The servant brought some paper and a pen, and the king wrote a letter. And what he wrote inside that letter? To my God, he wrote, catch this boy and kill him and bury his body in front of my palace. Can you read this? He asked the boy. The boy looked at the paper and shook his head. I don't know this language, he said. I can't read it. Good, said the king. Don't lose this paper. Give it to the soldier at the gate of my palace. They will bring you to me. Thank you, my lord, said Zeyta Hasebe. Come soon. And the king said, then he went away. The old man and his wife were sad. They did not want to lose Zeyta Hasebe. They loved him. But Zeyta Hasebe was happy and excited. So what happened that can I go to the palace and see the king? Father, he said every morning, can I go today? Not yet, my son, not yet, the old man answered. At last the old man and his wife agreed. They called Zeyta Hasebe to them. Our dear son, they said, we can't keep you here any longer. You can go to the king's palace, but don't forget us. Come home again soon. Then they blessed Zeyta Hasebe and said goodbye. Zeyta Hasebe began his journey. The road was long. It went through deep valleys and high mountain. On the highest mountain of all, he saw the wizard's eagle in the sky. While high he was passing from the mountain pass, he saw the eagle. The eagle flew down to Zeyta Hasebe. It began to peek at his clothes. The king's letter fell out of the boy's pocket. The eagle picked it up in its beak and flew away with it. The eagle, no, Zeyta Hasebe called out, bring back my letter. It's from the king. But the eagle had already gone. Zeyta Hasebe sat down on a rock. He was unhappy. Now the fate has something very special for Zeyta Hasebe. So the king will never see me now, he thought. His servant will keep me away from him. Then he saw something white on the ground. He picked it up. It was another letter. Zeyta Hasebe looked at it, but he couldn't read it. He didn't understand the language of the letter. Then, did the eagle drop this? He thought. Perhaps the king's servant will understand it. Perhaps it will help me to see the king, he thought. He put the new letter in his pocket and went down on the road. So, what happened that next, at last, Zeyta Hasebe came to the king's palace. It was a fine stone building, but there are the soldiers. He thought, where are the king's guard and all his servant? He thought with himself that where is the king and his servant and his guard? After a long time, a servant came out of the palace. He saw the boy standing by the gate. Who are you? He called out. And what do you want? What do you want? The king invited me to come here, Zeyta Hasebe answered. The king isn't here, the man said. Go away. But he gave me a letter, said Zeyta Hasebe. Look, here it is, the letter. Show it to me, the man said. So Zeyta Hasebe showed him the letter. The man opened it and began to read. He began to read the letter. This man is Zeyta Hasebe, the letter said. He is a prince. I have chosen him to be my daughter's husband. Arrange the marriage quickly. Do not wait for my return. The servant bowed to Zeyta Hasebe at once. He bowed to him according to the letter, the words of the letter. The servant respected him. My master, he said, I am happy to see you. The prince is here. I will obey the king and arrange the wedding. You will be married tomorrow. Tomorrow at once. The next day, Zeyta Hasebe married the king's daughter. The cooks made a great feast. The musician played wonderful music. Zeyta Hasebe saw his bride, and she was very beautiful. He loved her at once. He started to love. In the evening, the king came home. He rode up to the palace on his white mule. What's happening here? He said. Why are all these people here? What is the music for? And why is everyone dancing? The king was surprised. My lord, the servant said, Prince Zeyta Hasebe arrived yesterday. He showed me your letter. I obeyed all your instructions. And today he married your daughter. He married your daughter according to your own instruction. When the king heard this, he became furious. And then very, very angry he became. What? He shouted. This boy, my enemy, has married my daughter? Then his mule was frightened by the noise and it reared up. The king fell off. His sword ran off into his side and he died. And so Zeyta Hasebe became the king of the whole country. He sent a servant to bring the old man and the old woman to the palace. And this how Zeyta Hasebe became a great king. He was just and honest. His people loved him and he became the father of many fine princes. This is the story of Zeyta Hasebe. How the luck, how the fate had runs its course, and the prophecy of that wizard was fulfilled. Thank you very much.